Buttons. Hello everyone. I want to speak about buttons in this video. No, not the ones on your jumper, your sweater, anywhere else, your shirt. Buttons on Android components. So when you click on buttons, buttons will do specific operations. Buttons are one of the most useful components, and I'm thrilled to be able to tell you about them. So if I want to count 3 of the most used components, I'll definitely say buttons, text views, and edit texts. So in the last video, we spoke about text view. This video is about buttons, and we're going to speak about edit text in the next video. I know, I'm transparent, aren't I? So let's go ahead into the Android Studio without losing any more time. So we have an open project from the last video, and we have a text view in this project. So now we're going to add a new button to the project. And as you perhaps remember before, we can add a new button in 2 ways. First one is drag and drop. Boom, I added a new button. And of course, I can drag it wherever I want and change my mind. And that's because I use constraint layout. Just snaps like that. Now, the second way to add a new button is by using XML code. So why don't we add a second button using XML code? Now, just go over to the XML side, and you can see here XML code that I've added a button before. I'm going to write button here, and Android Studio will autocomplete it. Okay, so now I need to define height and width, and I'll choose match parent for 2 of them. And you can see here we have a second button, but it covered the whole screen. So I'm going to change height to wrap content. Okay, so now the button covered the screen just from left to right. Now we need to give some text to this button. And I'm going to write here Android text, and inside the quotation marks button 2. And now you can see the button and button 2. So why don't we change the width of button 2 to be wrap content. And now we have 2 buttons. The first one is created by drag and drop. The second one is by using XML code. Now we can do a lot of operations with these buttons, right? We can do these operations in the attributes section. So we can define height and width here. We can specify layout margin from here. Also, we can define padding here. You remember that I mentioned that before, right? Padding defines the text position inside the button. So let's just go over it again. If I write left 20, text will go 20 dpi to the left. Also, when I write 20 dpi, text will go 20 dpi down. Now I can change the button text from here too. So I'll just write in here quickly, do your magic, and you can see the button got bigger because the button width is wrap content. Okay, so when the text gets longer, the button will get bigger in order to cover the text. And I can change the background color of the button from here as well. And I'll choose a color from here, and the button color will change. Now also I can choose the button to be clickable or not. Now you can probably think of why I put a button in the project, and I didn't do it to be clickable. So if I do not click the button, why did I put a button there? Well, this is important because you can do regulation on your project, and you can do your buttons to be clickable after some other operation. So in other words, before these operations happen, the button will not be clickable. You get me? For example, if you design a game and inside the game there is a next section button, but you don't want the player to pass on to the next section before they, make a, specific score. Well, you can specify that after the player collects a score, the next section button will be clickable. So then the player can pass to the next level after they make the required score. Also, we can change the text color from here. We can change the text size from here. Also, another important thing, we can do our button to be visible or invisible. Now you get it. So if I choose invisible, the button will not be seen. So this feature, of course, can be used for the same purpose and that I mentioned about being clickable or not clickable. Inclickable, I almost said. Inclickable. All right, so now we need to give this button an ID to be able to work on the Java side. So Android Studio gave this button an ID. It is button. All right, so if you want, you can change it. But you know what? I'm going to change it, and I will give it the ID do magic. Great. So now the ID of this button is do magic, and the text of the button is do your magic. So are you ready? Let's go over to the Java side. So there are some codes here before we wrote, so I'm going to delete some of it. And now I need to define that button in here. So I expanded import part above. And you can see here when I define text view, Android Studio imported android.widget.textView. Now you must import it in order to work with TextView. And in the same way, when I write here button and I do not choose autocomplete, the word button will be red because we did not import the button class inside the project. So that means I'll just need to import the button class. How am I going to do that? See here, when I write button, and then after that I press Control and space at the same time on the keyboard. After that, Android Studio will show me what I can import. And then I'll just double-click Android.widget as my option. And you see here, Android Studio imported Android.widget.button. And the button word is not red anymore. So now I need to give a name to this button in order to work here on this button. Let's see, I'll give the name button, but you can give whatever name you want, of course. Also, I'm going to need to define this button inside the onCreate method. So I'll write button equals find view by ID. I will write inside the parenthesis r.id.doMagic because the ID of my button was doMagic. So now I've defined the button on the Java side. I can do everything in here. So I will write button after dot, and you can see the operations that I can do. Now I will add a click listener, and inside the parentheses, new view on click listener. And then after that, I write inside the onClick method will be executed when I click the button. And I will write inside the onClick method button.setBackgroundColor, and inside the parenthesis color.black. So this code will then change the background color of the button after I click that button. I mean, that's a predicted result. We'll run it and we'll see. Whew, boy, it is working. You can see that, right? Cool. So we can do operations on other components from here as well. For example, we can change the text of the text view from here. So let me write text.setText, and inside the quotation marks, I have done my magic. Okay, so let's run it. And you see when I click on the button, text of the text view has changed. Now also I can do invisible for this text view. So I'm going to write text.setVisibility view.invisible. Let's run the app. And you can see, or you can not see, that it is working. So when I click the button, text view gets invisible. So in other words, you see that it is working because you don't see. Well, okay, well, never mind. You see that invisible is visible. No. Okay. Now I will do the invisible button itself. For my next magic trick. So you see here that there is another button, but when I click it, it doesn't work. Why? Because we haven't written codes for this button. Now, of course, we can do many more things here, but I just want to point out another topic about buttons. I know, I'm button crazed. I'm obsessed. The design of buttons is as important as its codes. So because of this, you need to learn different types of button designs. Do I need to say it again? Button types or button designs are as important as its codes. For example, you would want to shape a button to be oval or circular or rectangular. And then when we want to change the button design, we'll need to create a new XML file. So I will right-click the drawable folder, and then after that I will choose New, Drawable Resources File, and it will open in a new window. Now I need to give a name to this new XML file, and I will give the name Button Shape to this file. Click OK. And now we have a new XML file, and its name is Button Shape. Stay with me. There are some codes here. And these are the codes that when we click each button, how its design will be created. So I will delete these codes because I will not work with this right now. I just want to change the shape. So I'm going to define the shape, writing Android shape oval. Now also I need to choose a color for this button. So there are two types of colors, basically solid and stroke. I will define a solid color. And I'll choose a color from here. But you can choose whichever color you want. I'm not looking, so go ahead. So we defined the button shape, but has anything changed on the main activity XML page? Because we need to set as a background, we created the button shape XML. Now, how will I do this? I'm going to go back to the XML side of the activity main page, and I will change the button background. I will add the button shape XML file under the drawable folder that we created before. And now you can see the button has taken the oval shape. But we define the width and height to be wrap content. Need to change that too. So I'll change two of them to 150 dp button. Yes, took the shape of a ring. So you can do this square or rectangular. It's up to you. Go, play. You're going to have a great time. It's enough for this video. I will see you in the next one.